Hi, I'm Greg Artzner.
And I'm Terry Leonino.
And we're known as Magpie. And we're going to do a little concert for you today, songs from the 1930s, the era known as the Great Depression. Of course, the Great Depression began at the end of October in 1929 with the great stock market crash. But the economic hardships lasted all through the entire next decade of the 1930s and into the early 1940s and the beginnings of World War II. Now, despite the economic hardships that people endured during those years, it was an era of absolutely boundless creativity. There were lots of great songwriters working during that time in all different genres of American music. And a lot of the songs commented on what was going on during those times. It was also an era of great growth in the young recording industry. So there were a lot of great artists, these songwriters and other artists who were making records of that music. And so we have a record of what happened. Now, we're going to do some songs that do that run the gamut from all the different styles that we could think of to squeeze into an hour, and some of our favorites. Here's one that kind of depicts what it was like for a lot of people who had to face leaving home to go and find work somewhere in utter desperation, leaving home behind. The song is called Way Back Home.
Roads are the dustiest, winds are the gustiest, gates are the rustiest, pies are the crustiest, the songs are lustiest, the friends are trustiest, way back home. Trees are the sappiest, dames are the nappiest, dogs are the happiest, kids are the scrappiest, the jokes are snappiest, the folks are happiest, way back home. I don't know why I left my homestead, I really must confess, I'm just a weary exile singing my song of loneliness. Grass is springiest, bees are stingiest, birds are the wingiest, bells are the ringiest, the hearts are singiest, the arms are clingiest, way back home. I wrote a little song, a homesick little song about a place I never should have roamed from. Skies are brighter there, hearts are lighter there. I can hear a voice calling me back home. Roads are dusty, winds are gusty, gates are the rustiest, friends are the trustiest, way back home. Trees are sappy, days are nappy, dogs are the happiest, folks are the happiest, way back home. I don't know why I left my homestead, I really must confess, I'm just a weary exile singing my song. I'm singing my song of loneliness. Food is spreadiest, wine is the headiest, pals are the readiest, gals are the steadiest, the love is lively, the life is lovely, way down upon the Swanee River. The folks are yearning for my returning, but it's not getting way back home.
Oh,
Way
that's
Back Home.
one of my favorites, and it's from our Sheroes, the Boswell Sisters.
Yes, indeed.
Now, a lot of the music from that time was really very full of humor and irony, and really was sung by so many different people. That song in particular was sung by Bing Crosby.
And Bob Crosby and the Bobcats, too.
Right. So now we're going to do one from Lonnie Johnson.
Now, Lonnie Johnson was one of the great blues guitarists. He's from New Orleans, but he traveled up and down the Mississippi. He played in St. Louis and Chicago and other places around the country. He didn't like to just be pigeonholed as a blues player, though. He played a lot of different styles of music and loved to sing the standards and play them. He was a really good jazz player as well. Oh, before we do the Lonnie Johnson song, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my hat. This hat is what's known as a newsboy cap, a very popular style in the late 20s and all through the 1930s. Working men wore these hats a lot, and I make them, and I've been making them for a really long time, more than 30 years. And
it's actually made of 1930s fabric.
yeah, the fabric was actually an old antique bolt of fabric I bought, and I made this hat. Now, in the 1930s, if you had a job of work, working in what, construction or industry or whatever, this was your hard hat. They didn't have hard hats in the 1930s. This was the hat that working men wore. So what you would do is you'd take it off and you'd turn it around and you'd wear it this way. So since I'm working today, I'm going to wear it this way. Now, as we were saying, this is the Lonnie Johnson song, and Lonnie was commenting upon what it was like for a lot of black Americans in the 1930s. It was already hard times for them. They didn't see what the whole big deal was about, with everybody talking about hard times. So this song is called Hard Times Ain't Gone Nowhere. Here we go.
People raving about hard times. Tell me what it's all about. People hollering about hard times. Tell me what it's all about. Hard times don't worry me. I was broke when they first started out. Friends, it could be worse. You don't seem to understand. Friends, it could be worse. You don't seem to understand. Son is crying with a sack of gold under each arm and a loaf of bread in each hand. When I had plenty of money, I spent it on my so-called friends. When I had plenty of money, I bought the best whiskey, wine, and gin. Now the soles of my shoes is thin, and I'll soon be on my feet again. People raving about hard times. I don't know why they should. People raving about hard times. I don't know why they should. If some people was like me, they didn't have no money when times was good.
All right, hard times ain't gone nowhere. Well, out on the Great Plains, where you all live out there in Coffeyville, of course, it was hard times, and they had year after year in the 1920s and early 30s, they had drought and dust storms. And there was a songwriter who was originally from Okemah, Oklahoma, and lived in the early 30s in Pampa, Texas, by the name of Woody Guthrie. Now, Woody was among that population of people who left what was known as the Dust Bowl in the 1930s and went out to California. And he wrote lots of songs about his experiences among the Dust Bowl refugees, as they were called. He's the guy who wrote This Land Is Your Land. And if you watched the inauguration last week, you heard Jennifer Lopez sing a couple of verses of This Land Is Your Land. So we're going to do a couple of Woody's songs here.
I think you better check your guitar because you bend all those notes when you're
Well, that's
playing
true.
the blues.
Check it out.
And then we can fine tune, and I can tell them about this wonderful instrument. This is an Appalachian Dulcimer. Sometimes it's called a lap dulcimer because you have to play it on your lap. But it was a very popular instrument, even in the 1930s. And we're going to use it to sing one, or possibly, two of the Dust Bowl ballads that Woody Guthrie wrote. And he was very famous for these. He wrote a whole LP from Moses Ash of Smithsonian Folkways Records of nothing but Dust Bowl ballads. And so these are two of our most favorites. This one's called Dust Storm Disaster.
On the 14th day of April in 1935, there struck a worst of dust storms that ever filled the sky. You can see that dust storm coming, the cloud looked death like black, and through our mighty nation it left a dreadful track. From Oklahoma City to the Arizona line, Dakota and Nebraska to the lazy Rio Grande, it fell across our city like a curtain of black rolled down. We thought it was our judgment, we thought it was our doom. The radio reported, we listened with alarm, the wild and windy actions of this great mysterious storm. From Albuquerque and Clovis and all New Mexico, they said it was the blackest that ever they had saw. From old Dodge City, Kansas, the dust had rung their knell, and a few more comrades sleeping on top of Old Boot Hill. From Denver, Colorado, they said it blew so strong, they thought that they could hold out, but they didn't know how long. Our relatives were huddled into their oil boom shacks, and the children, they were crying as it whistled through the cracks. The family, it was crowded into their little room. They thought the world had ended, and they thought it was their doom. The storm took place at sundown, it lasted through the night. When we looked out next morning, we saw a terrible sight. We saw outside our windows where wheat fields they had grown was now a rippling ocean of dust the wind had blown. It covered up our fences, it covered up our barns, it covered up our tractors in this wild and dusty storm. We loaded our jalopies and piled our families in. We rattled down that highway to never come back again.
Now, speaking of, sorry about that, Greg.
That's all right.
Speaking of rattling down the highway, this next song really gives you a picture of that. So we wanted to do this one because it was the 14th of April in 1935, one of the biggest dust storms ever. there are dust storms now happening out there. Maybe some of you've seen them. So climate crisis was happening in the 1930s, and we had to learn how to preserve our soil and take care of the land better. And then, as people got into those rattling old jalopies, they would head for California.
Now, we came out to Kansas and used to perform concerts out in Pratt and right there in Coffeyville, too, back in the 1980s. And we talked with some people who lived there through the dust storms and didn't leave. And we also talked to some people who actually did leave and then came back. So some of them did actually come back, contrary to the last line of that song. But a lot of them didn't, that's true. And so this is a talking blues. This is a style of songwriting that, well, Woody Guthrie was a major proponent of this particular style of songwriting. It's a great way to tell a story. And spoken song to a rhythmic accompaniment. I guess in that sense, you could call this the great granddaddy of rap music. So this is the story of one family taking their Ford Jalopy, whatever it was, Model A Ford, or whatever they happen to have.
Or their truck and tractor.
Piling everything on.
Whatever was left.
And tying it on with ropes, and driving all the way out to California looking for work. So it's called Talkin' Dust Bowl Blues. Back in 1927, I had a little farm and I called that heaven. Well, the price is up, and the rain come down, and I hauled my crops all into town. Got the money, bought clothes and groceries, fed the kids, raised a family. Well, the rain quit and the wind got high and a black old dust storm filled the sky. I swapped my farm for a Ford machine and I poured it full of this gasoline. And I started rocking and rolling over the mountains out toward the old Peach Bowl. It was way up yonder on a mountain road. I had a hot motor and a heavy load. I was going pretty fast. It wasn't even stopping, bouncing up and down like popcorn popping. I had a breakdown, sort of a nervous bust down of some kind. There was a mechanic feller there. He said it was engine trouble, and he ought to know. It was way up yonder on a mountain curve. It was way up yonder in a piney wood. I give that rolling Ford a shove. I was gonna coast as far as I could. Commence coasting, picking up speed. Come a hairpin turn, I didn't make it. Man alive, I'm telling you, the fiddles and the guitars really flew. That Ford took off like a flying squirrel and it flew halfway around the world. Scattered wives and children's all over the side of that mountain. We got out to the west coast broke, so dadgum hungry I thought I'd croak. So I bummed up a spud or two and my wife fixed up a tater stew. We poured the kids full of it. Mighty thin stew though. You can read a magazine right through it. I always have figured that if it had been just a little bit thinner, some of these here politicians could have seen through it. Talking Dust Bowl. Well, over in Appalachia, in the coal fields of West Virginia and Kentucky, southern Ohio, other places around there in the heart of Appalachia, coal miners had been fighting and struggling to form unions. This fight had been going on for quite a long time, but in the 1930s, it really came to a head. And it was a real struggle wherein the companies did everything in their power to thwart the unions from organizing. They would hire gun carrying vigilantes. They were known as gun thugs, and they came into union meetings and with guns ablazing, they would intimidate and terrorize the miners and their families. But some great music came out of those struggles.
These were called the Coal Wars, and women were at the forefront. There was one woman by the name of Aunt Molly Jackson who wrote this next song. And now it's going to be sung in a totally different style than probably most of you have ever heard. And so please be open-minded about this, thinking about those people in the coal mines, in the coal wars, that were losing their jobs. The unions were being busted by sheriffs and gun thugs and anybody in the corporate world that wanted to keep them as slave workers. So this is called I Am a Union Woman. I am a union woman, just as brave as I can be. I do not like the bosses, and the bosses don't like me. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. I was raised in old Kentucky, Kentucky born and bred. And when I joined the union, they called me Russian Red. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. When my husband asked for a job, this is what they said. Bill Jackson, we can't work you, sir. Your wife's a Russian Red. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. This is the worst time on earth that I ever saw, to be killed off by the gun thugs and framed up by the law. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. The bosses ride fine horses while we walk in the mud. Their banner is a $sign while ours is striped with blood. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. If you want your freedom, likewise your liberty, then come and join the CIO and come along with me. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. There are many thousands of us, and this I'm proud to say, and we are getting stronger, much stronger every day. Join the CIO, come join the CIO. Union Woman.
Florence Reese was a woman living in the coal fields. Her husband was a miner. Now, Aunt Molly Jackson was a member of a family, a whole coal mining family, and who had written some of the great songs. And her brother and her sister both were songwriters as well.
Jim Garland was her brother, and he wrote "I Don't Want Your Millions, Mister,"
yeah, which was another famous song of the 30s. And Sarah Ogan Gunning wrote some. Her sister wrote some other great songs. Now, she organized for the NMU but the National Miners Union, before it became the United Mine Workers of America, which then, of course, became part of the Congress of Industrial Organizations, the CIO you heard mentioned in that song. Now, Florence Reese, she wasn't She wasn't known as a songwriter like Aunt Molly was, but she wrote one of the best known songs in American history. The story is that the coal company gun thugs came to her house looking for her husband one night, and he was not at home. Well, after they succeeded in terrorizing Florence and the children, they left. And that's when she took the calendar down off the wall and flipped it over and wrote the words to this song, one of the most widely sung, best known protest songs in American history.
Or will you be a man? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? My daddy was a miner. He is now in the air and sun. He'll be with you, fellow workers, until the battle's won. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? I'll tell of how that dear old Union has come in here to dwell. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Well, leaving the coal fields and heading into the city, we now get to do some of my favorite songs from the 1930s.
The Love and Money song.
The Love and Money songs. Now, even today, Love and Money are two of the biggest themes ever written in song.
Yeah, but you hardly ever hear them in the same song.
No.
In the 1930s, it was commonplace. A lot of popular songs written in the 1930s were about love and money at the same time. Think about it. Pennies from Heaven.
Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries.
I found a $1 million baby in a 5 and 10 cent store. And one of my favorites is that one. If I had $1 million, I know just what I would do. I'd tie a string around the world and bring all of it to you. And so there were a lot of songs that that touched on those themes together.
Thank you, Greg. That was quite interesting. Well, anyway, here's 3 that we really liked because we wanted to do something that people might not have heard as much because there were so many songs about love and money. So the first song is called Hey Honey, Are You Making Any Money? That's All I Want to Know. And the second song is called I'm an Unemployed Sweetheart Looking for Somebody to Love. And the last one is called I'm in the Market for You. Now pay close attention because this song has a whole bunch of stock market terms in it. And I thought it was pretty clever when it was written, using that idea. And I'll probably play a little bit of a mouth trumpet, which was a style that was inspired by the Mills Brothers.
All right. You ready? Here we go.
You make time and you make love dandy. You make swell molasses candy. But honey, are you making any money? That's all I want to know. You make fun when you could make trouble. Make mistakes, say that goes double. But honey, are you making any money? That's all I want to know. You make days, you make trades. I can get that through my head. It's a cinch in a pinch. You could make breakfast, even make the bed. You make good when you make a promise. No, I'm not a doubting Thomas. But honey, are you making any money? That's all I want to know.
I want a job in the moonlight, under the stars above. For I'm an unemployed sweetheart, looking for somebody to love. I'll guarantee I can spoon ride, just like a turtle dove. For I'm an unemployed sweetheart, looking for somebody to love. Now I've got kisses and I've got arms, still I'm always blue. 'Cause my kisses and my arms have no work to do. If I had a chance in the moonlight, I wouldn't need a shove. For I'm an unemployed sweetheart, looking for somebody to love. I'll have to see my broker, find out what he can do. 'Cause I'm in the market for you. There won't be any joker, with margin I'm all through. 'Cause I want you outright, it's true. You're going up, up, up in my estimation. I'll have 1,000 shares of your caresses too. We'll have tons and kisses when dividends are due. 'Cause I'm in the market for you. 'Cause I'm in the market for you.
Love and money
We'll count the hugs and kisses
when dividends are due.
All right, so here's a song that's a very popular song in 1932. There's a little bit of back history. In 1924, the U.S. Congress passed the World War Adjusted Compensation Act, the ACA. This was a law that granted bonus certificates to all World War I veterans. And this was money that was to be given to them, but not until 1945. So bonuses, but they weren't going to get it for quite a while, 20 years. And so 1929, the great stock market crash, 1930, 1931, thousands and thousands and thousands of people thrown out of work, including veterans, very desperate. They wanted the money now when they needed it. So they organized, they came to Washington, D.C. There were about 17,000 veterans and their families, their wives and children, so there were about 44,000 people. Came to D.C., they put up tents and shacks right down on the Washington Mall, and they called it Hooverville because, of course, President Hoover, whose policies had led to the Great Depression, wasn't really doing much to help anybody. But he didn't like that very much, so he called in the Army under the command of none other than General Douglas MacArthur, and they drove the Bonus Army off of the National Mall. They were called the Bonus Expeditionary Force, which was an echo of the American Expeditionary Force, U.S. troops in the World War. But they were the Bonus Army. So they came back again the next year, 1933, after Roosevelt had been elected during his first year. But he wasn't giving them the bonus either. What he did do was he started what was known as the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC.
Now, this is a very good thing because they're all over this country, even to this very day. Right here in Schoharie County, we have several. So check it out. I bet there's some out there near Coffeyville, Kansas, too. And these were corps to protect the earth that they invented, the Conservation Corps. Mm-hmm. And they put people to work that never had jobs.
There were projects in parks and building things. And so what Roosevelt did was he gave work to a lot of these people. And a lot of them took these jobs. And then a few years later, in 1936, Congress finally overrode Roosevelt's veto and voted to give the men their bonuses. So here it was 9 years before they were due. And I wonder sometimes how many of them actually survived to live that long. But so this was a song that was written by Yip Harburg and Jay Gorney. It was part of a musical review that was done in Broadway in New York, called Americana. And this told a little bit of that story. And in the voice of one of those desperate veterans. It was a very popular song in the later part of the year. It was recorded by Bing Crosby and Rudy Valley and by many others since then.
And he was the same guy, Yip Harburg, that wrote Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
That's right, and all the songs to The Wizard of Oz. So this is Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? Tell me I was building a dream, and so I followed the mark. When there was earth to plow or guns to bear, I was always there, right there on the job. They used to tell me I was building a dream, peace and glory ahead. Why should I be standing in line, just waiting for bread? Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, and now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once I built a tower to the sun, brick and rivet and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee Doodle-dum. $500,000
remember they called me Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember I'm your pal? Brother, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee Doodle Dum. 500,000 boots went storming through hell, and I was the kid with the drum. Say, don't you remember they called me Al? It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember I'm your pal? Hey, buddy, can you spare a dime?
So I'm sure you've heard by now in our program several songs that you may actually still be hearing. And this next one's no different.
Over
Actually-
in England, there was a duo by the name of Flanagan and Allen. You know, they were having a Great Depression in England, too. Well, the 1930s was a musical heyday over there. Music halls were going strong. And so Bud Flanagan wrote this song, which became really popular over there and became popular in the United States as well. Now, if you go to England now and you sing this song, everybody will sing along with you because they all know this song. Again, it's one of those ironic songs of the 30s that if you just listen to the music, you'd think this is the sweetest old song you ever heard in your life, but yet it describes a situation of tremendous desperation.
It's called Underneath the Arches. The bridge down by the river with arches overhead. It's home like there, for me that's where each night I make my bed. Underneath the arches I dream my dreams away. Underneath the arches on cobblestones I lay. Every night you'll find me tired out and worn, happy when the daylight comes creeping, heralding the dawn, sleeping when it's raining and sleeping when it's fine. Trains rattling all the time. Pavement is my pillow, no matter where I stray. Underneath the arches, I dream my dreams away.
Underneath the arches,
Underneath the arches,
I dream my dreams away.
I dream my dreams away.
Underneath the arches,
Underneath the arches,
on cobblestones I
on
lay.
cobblestones I lay.
Every night you'll find me
when it's raining,
and sleeping when it's fine.
sleeping when it's fine.
Trains rattling all the time. Pavement is my pillow, no matter where I stray. Underneath the arches, I dream my dreams away.
Sleeping when it's raining.
Sleeping when it's raining,
And sleeping when it's fine.
sleeping when it's fine.
Trains rattling all the time. Pavement is my pillow, no matter where I stray. Underneath the arches, I dream my dreams away.
Underneath the arches.
So here's one from the late, great American singer Billie Holiday. Now, Billie Holiday didn't write too many songs, but she did write this one. And this one became a classic, just like several that you've heard in the show already. And in particular, I think she was brilliant. She also wrote this with Arthur Herzog Jr., but he would say that it was mostly her words and her description that made the core of this beautiful song called God Bless the Child.
Which this song came out toward the end of the Depression, and I think it was 1941.
Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible said, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Yes, the strong gets more, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grave. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Money, you've got lots of friends crowding round the door. When it's gone and spending ends, they don't come back no more. Rich relations give crust of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got got his own. Crust of bread and such, you can help yourself, but don't take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. He don't worry about a thing, 'cause he's got his own. Well, folks, we got just one more for you, and now it's time to do some thank yous to all of the students out there that are watching, college, high school, whoever's watching this, family, friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. And also we wanted to thank Joanne Murdoch for helping set this whole series up for you. We know there's been lots of wonderful programs, and we are honored to be a part of it.
And we want to thank the organizers there in Coffeyville too. And we certainly hope that we'll be able to come out and visit you in person one of these days, not too distant future. So we're going to end off with a happy little song here. It's called Put That Song Back in the Sky, which is the title song of our program. It's a little bit of a complex little piece that we do here, but
it's from the Boswell Sisters, our sheroes. So we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah,
thank you again so much.
You know, we didn't really talk about the Boswell Sisters.
Okay, they were from New Orleans.
They were from New Orleans.
They were the predecessors of the Andrew Sisters.
3 real sisters.
And they also were right up there with the Mills Brothers, and they were so inspired by the Mills Brothers, they did wild things with their voices, which you'll hear in this song.
A little bit, yeah. All right, anyway. Put that sun back in the sky.
If you're happy blowing bubbles, you keep right on blowing bubbles, and the world may laugh at you. But if you find that blowing bubbles helps you chase away your troubles, that's just the thing for you to do. We've got to put that sun back in the sky, teach the little bluebirds just how to fly. We'll start winging and you hear them singing, singing once again. We've got to put that smile back on each face, peddle that good cheer every place. All you do is keep humming, the spring is coming, coming to the land. Ah, sing a little groove, little tune. Day, we gotta put that sun back in the sky. Teach the little bluebirds just how to fly. Make an I love you song, don't be blue song, just as the time goes by. Just keep right on smiling when trouble's knocking at your door. All you do is keep on smiling, your trouble's bound to go. I wonder why you worry so. We've got to put that sun back in the sky. Put that sun back in the sky. When we put that sun, when we put that sun, when we put that sun back in the sky. We got to put that smile back on your face. Put that smile back on your face. When we put that smile, when we put that smile, when we put that smile back on your face. Sing a little pretty little tune. We gotta put that sun back in the sky. Just a little bluebird just half fly, making I love you song. Don't be blue song, just as the time goes by. Goes by.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of the year, and thanks for inviting us to be a part of this wonderful program.
Thank you so much.